All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Circuit Stream's May 2023 Game Development Bootcamp Pitch Day. Where is everyone joining us from? Please, can you put in the chat where you are joining us from? I see that we have Indianapolis, we have Calgary, Leo currently in Brazil. Thanks for joining us, Gaishli from Vancouver. Ooh, we have someone joining us from Hawaii. Toronto, Australia, welcome. All right, before we get started, I'll begin with a few housekeeping notes. Can everybody hear me and see me okay? Please indicate if you can hear me and see me okay. Perfect. All right, the chat area is at that bottom right corner. And the questions area is also located right there at the bottom right-hand corner as well. So what is going to happen is that at the end of each presentation today, we will have about 5 minutes for a live Q&A session where you can offer any feedback or ask the presenters questions around their projects. So please post any questions that you have for our presenters in the questions area, and they will be addressed at the end of each presentation. All right, so to introduce myself, my name is Wanai, and I am the Student Outcomes Manager at Circuit Stream. I call myself the resident talent matchmaker between our students and our industry partners. And Tyler Trapp will also be joining me today to co-host. And Tyler is our marketing events manager. Thank you so much, Tyler, for coming on board to assist with this. So taking a look at the schedule for today's event, we are going to introduce Circuit Stream and kick off the event. That should take about 10 to 15 minutes. Then we're going to go ahead and pass the mic over to the other partners from different studios and associations to introduce themselves and provide a little bit of support for the students. Following that, we are going to get into the bulk of the presentation today, which is the graduate pitches, and this should take about 75 minutes or so. At the very end, we'll do a quick wrap up of the event and provide some more information on how you can connect with us after the event. So we were founded in 2015. We identified a gap in the demand for education related to AR and VR. A lot has changed since then, and we have now expanded into the game design and development spaces. Our goal has always been to share a foundation of knowledge on the best tools, processes, and workflows. To date, we've reached over 45,000 learners worldwide to develop these highly sought-after technical skills. Here's a snapshot of our current university partners. A few learners you will see present today join us from UBC, U of T, and University of Melbourne. Our Game Development Bootcamp is a 30-week intensive live online bootcamp that's designed to help launch the development careers of new talent. To that end, what really sets the program apart from our other courses is that it is a career track with a dedicated career program that runs parallel to the technical program. Upon succession of the program, learners are Circuit Stream certified game developers, and they have all the hard and soft skills that are required to launch a successful career in Unity 3D development. As I mentioned earlier, Bootcamp has both a technical course and a career course that run in tandem. Hard skills that the learners gain through the technical course include C# scripting, collaboration tools, application development, agile development, API integration, and persistent databases, as well as debugging and optimization. Now, the soft skills is where the career course is crucial. Through career labs and one-on-ones with their career coach, we guided the learners through developing their communication, adaptability, proactivity, taking on a growth mindset, and special emphasis on teamwork and collaboration. Learners today are presenting their capstone projects. They were provided with a set of requirements with the goal of creating a minimum viable product within the span of 4 weeks. They were able to create a project that was of personal interest for them, and they could choose to work solo or to work with others. Which brings us to today's event. Today, we have a total of 10 graduates that are presenting for you. All of them are seeking employment, and we will see a total of 6 presentations today, 3 being solo presenters and 3 being in groups. Lastly, our graduates are located in Canada, Australia, and one of them is joining us from their vacation in Mexico. I'm going to touch on our talent network a little bit here before we invite our first industry partner to speak. We are committed to supporting our alumni with their careers and personal development, and we take responsibility in connecting learners with industry partners and networks. For anybody interested in joining our talent network, our partners gain first access to global alumni and talent, exclusive invites to connect with our career-ready graduates, assistance from the Circuit Stream team to source talent, presentations to our talent network, ability to post and search for roles within our community, as well as features at events on website and materials. Here's a bit of a snapshot of some of our industry partners. Now, this particular list was chosen specifically from our overall list, as we do have representatives from some of these companies with us today. And now, a word from a few of our industry partners. First up, I'm going to call on stage Shay Babatunde from Studio Monsoon. Welcome, Shay.
Hello. I hope you guys can hear me properly.
Yes, loud and clear.
It's nice to see you again, Wanae. Absolutely awesome to hear just the vision of Circuit Stream and how things go. But for a lot of you, I always find, and actually just watching the chat has been very encouraging, because one thing I've loved about the video games industry is that it really brings together very different people from across the globe, and it really crosses over many different industries, and it's just a fun place to play and have fun with. But for those of you, and which is all of you that I haven't met, my name is Shay Babatunde. I am the HR generalist for Studio Monsoon, and we are actually based in Calgary. We have a bunch of employees outside of Calgary too, but within Canada. And one of the cool things that we got to release last year was we got to be the co-developer of one of the Lord of the Rings, the official Lord of the Rings game, Return to Moria, all based on the dwarves. So, and I'm also totally a Lord of the Rings nerd, so that was actually amazing. And the game's doing well, lots of sales, people are loving and enjoying playing it. But when they reached out to me to kind of share with you guys as students, just a really big thing about encouraging the next generation. It is a huge value system of mine personally, but also of our studio. A lot of our employees are kind of really mixed in the sense that we have some juniors, we have a lot of intermediates, we have a few seniors, and we love taking chances on people and really getting a chance to actually grow them and mentor and coach them in the industry. And so it may sound cliche, but I always say that cliche is only cliche if it's not true in your life. And so when we talk about investing in the future and empowering those who are coming after us, it is a big value system of ours. And so being able to speak today is awesome. And just a couple of things to encourage you with. This is what I was told when I started my degree, or when I graduated, when I kind of step out into the working world. And really, it's to actually think beyond the restrictions of what you've potentially thought of thus far, right? Your program has prepared you for the future, you know your base skills, but you're essentially just starting out for the very first time. And you're venturing out into the deep, starting, you know, taking opportunities, learning as you grow. If you continually adopt a growth mentality and mindset, there really is nothing that stops you. I really feel like what I've seen in some of our employees coming out of school, they get a chance to kind of shake off the dust a little bit and realize they can continue growing and embracing that growth mindset. There really is no one shot kind of gives you everything, opens up every door, but everything you do opens up the next door. So it's really important to continually say yes to the next thing. And then also continually improving your technical skills. I know for our studio, we started off with being a Unity-based studio, and we've actually transitioned a lot of our projects to being on Unreal right now. We have one that's in the Unity program, but again, you can always keep learning and improving your technical skills. I have found that has actually helped a lot of people weather the ebbs and flows in our industry, learning technical skills like C++, Unreal, improving your leadership skills. I loved seeing that Circuit Stream actually works with people to understand how to communicate well, because that is the biggest thing that we look for in people that we look to hire is, you know, do they work on their people skills? Are they working on their leadership skills, like time management and everything else in between? And just really one thing I wanted to encourage people to do as you step out into the working world right now is, you know, really have a growth mentality around your goals and keep growing, and really have a focus of personal excellence and stay teachable. As a studio right now, we're actually working on a few contracts. And so as we confirm them, we will be looking to hire. So feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, on Instagram. On LinkedIn, we are Studio Monsoon. On Instagram, we're studio.monsoon. Big change, I know. But yeah, that's who we are. You can connect with us there. But as we look to expand, then we will be open to, you know, looking to hire people as well. But again, here's the powerful thing about the real world, is that it's all about building relationships. So being able to stay connected and connect with me personally, if you want to actually have it, if you have any questions that you have, I'd be happy to answer. So reach out to me on LinkedIn and everything else in between. I see there is a question here. I don't know if I have time to answer that question, but maybe one day you can let me know. But I can read it really quickly. I guess if she's not popping up, I can just read the question. The question is, have you had people successfully transition from product leadership and management into other industries, into similar positions in the games industry? Okay, so I probably would have to have more of a conversation with you, Scott, but that's a great question. Product leadership management in other industries. So when it comes to, like, again, for myself being in the games industry, I don't have a gaming background. I have more of a psychology HR background. So I personally am new to the games industry, but I would imagine, and actually I can see this being very similar to anything new that you take on, right? So doing your proper homework and doing your proper research to understand the new industry you're trying to play in is very important. And a lot of those transferable skills, a lot of things that we use different programs, like, you know, people have probably heard of Jira. We use ClickUp personally, and we've done Monday.com, but all those things that act like the mentality of leading a project, that can actually transfer very simply across different industries, but you would have to know your industry specifically. So I haven't necessarily seen a lot of people in my journey of looking at the games industry within our studio. But if you're looking to transition, it's just being willing to accept the cost of that, right? So pay the price to learn what you need to learn to move forward in life. And that's just a general life principle. So if you're looking to move from other project management work, doing the work of learning what you're going into, understanding the processes of how things are built in this industry. Actually, we do have a guy who's trying to come on board with us. He has a general project management background, was looking to come on board with us. And we just kind of have allowed him to be a friend of the studio. And he's taken a lot of personal initiative to actually continue to learn. He picked up a Udemy course on Unreal, which I imagine you guys have an Unreal course here with Circuit Stream. But a lot of that personal development is what he's going to need to do, which is just the nature of the beast when it comes to anything you're trying to transition from and to. And as long as you have that continual learning mentality and growth mentality, you're always going to be in good hands. And actually, I forgot to mention this. This is the biggest thing I've seen for new grads. Is always remember that when you step out into the real world, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. So continually being willing to ask questions and reach out for support and continue to grow, and find people in the industry that have a career accomplishment, or it looks like they have what you're looking to accomplish, right? So whether they are a creative director or a product manager, and kind of study like what did they do to get there, right? And look at their work history. If they have books, read their books. If they have podcasts, read their podcasts. If they're going to an event, go to that event if you can make it, and go to that event, look to connect with them and ask them questions. And you would be very shocked to see how many people are willing to help you if you reach out to them. And if you don't reach out, you'll never know. And if they don't help you, that's totally fine. You took a risk and you're failing forward as you move forward in the development of your career. But if you're looking to transition, it could be helpful for you to find different people in the industry that maybe have done that. And you can ask more specific questions to help yourself get there, but also map out your video games career. Don't think so small of like, I've learned this technical skill, I want to stay here. But think of, okay, who has a different path in the games industry? Figure out how they got there, ask questions, look to learn, keep growing. I know we have a bunch of newer, well, it was their first job in the games industry with us. And he was wanting to kind of pigeonhole himself into a particular stream right now. And I'm like, don't do that. You're first and foremost in your early 20s. And also, this is your first ever games position, like in the video games industry. And it's just continually stay open to learning and asking questions, and continue to build your repertoire of what you know and understanding your skill set. That you basically would be untouchable the more you actually keep learning and growing post your graduation. So for whatever that's worth, I'm going to let that go, but feel free to reach out to me if that helps. I'm happy to continue the conversation, but thank you so much, Wendy, and I'm excited for today.
Thank you so much, Shay.
Yeah.
All right. So I will, oh, there we go. Okay, so I will have to reshare my screen, it looks like. Just give me a minute. But up next, we do have Greg, who is a senior recruitment consultant from TEMA. So welcome to the stage, Greg. Hi, Greg.
Hi.
Oh, there you
well, I guess I should start. Hi.
All right. I
should
will
I start
exit.
now?
Yes, I'll exit the stage. Thanks, Greg.
Hi, everybody. My name is Greg Shane. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a bit of a COVID zombie right now. So, yeah, I'm just getting over some coronavirus. I'm also using my phone and trying to angle this, but I'll do the best I can. Really sorry about this. But anyway, I started and have been working in games for about 7 years now. I was really lucky to be working at a recruiting firm in Tokyo where I could work with Bandai, Capcom, Square Enix, filling roles all the way from, director level to junior animator. And yeah, that's basically what I've been doing for the past while, both as a headhunter and a recruiter, and also internally at a AAA video game studio for a while to help them scale up. I'm now working with an association, a group called TEMA, where, I'm once again looking for clients in the gaming industry, and I'm always talking to candidates and helping, just helping them find different roles or giving them advice, just like I'm doing right now. I guess what I would say, as somebody who works in the employment angle of, a consultant for candidates in the gaming industry and on the client side for gaming, what I would say to new grads right now, you're in a great place because the industry is changing radically right now. And I think that there are so many opportunities that are going to happen due to all of the layoffs and everything, I think you could look at graduating now as, oh my gosh, I'm going into the toughest time of my, of this industry. But actually what's happening is the industry is reforming itself into new groups, and hiring has really never been better. So yeah, I guess I'll leave off by saying I'm really glad to be here. I can't wait to see everybody's projects. And when you are looking for a new role, you can always hit me up on LinkedIn, and we can move from there.
Right.
Not sure how to exit this.
So if you go on your video there, on the top right hand corner, there's a little X. Just hit that, and yes, there we go. All right, thank you so much, Greg. And up next, we have our lead instructor here at CircuitStream, Leo Andrade. Leo, welcome to the stage.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Wanai. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. Obviously, most of you already know me. As when I said, I am the now lead bootcamp instructor with CircuitStream. I'm very proud of all of the students that are here today. I worked with most of them. Unfortunately, couldn't work with all of them, different classes, but I'm very proud of what everyone has been able to do. How much everybody has been able to grow. And I won't take too much time. All I will say is I will echo something that Shay said, which is really this is just the beginning. Graduating today is just the beginning for all of you. What you do from this point is what matters, right? Whether an opportunity comes out of pitch day or not, or in the next week or not. Game development is something that you can really keep growing, even if nobody is giving you an opportunity, right? You can make a small game on your own or with a team. You can invest time in a big project if you have that kind of time. You can keep studying, you can keep learning. And the best way that you can do that is by building projects. I know my students are probably exhausted of hearing me say that by now, but don't stop here, right? The difference between the people that will end up succeeding in this industry and the people that won't is the people that will stop after today, regardless of the outcome, and the people that will keep pushing after today, regardless of the outcome. So I've seen your projects. I know how great they are. I know how hard you worked. So you should be very proud of where you are. You should be very confident of what you've done. But I just want to say that regardless of what happens, keep pushing, because all of you have more than enough talent to break into the industry. So that's it for me. I'm very happy to be here, and good luck to all of you. I'm very excited to see the projects again.
All right. Thank you so much, Leo. Okay, so thank you to all of our speakers. And now I'm going to invite my co-host Tyler on the stage.
Here we go.
All right. Thanks, Tyler. Over to you.
Of course. Thank you, Wanai. So yes, hello everybody. Happy to be here with everybody today. This is going amazing so far, and I'm happy, I guess without further ado, I can begin the actual pitch sessions for the day here. So reminder to everyone to please share your comments in the chat. If you have any specific questions for any of our presenters, please post them into the chat or the question section off to the side, and we will take a little bit of time at the end of each presentation for some Q&A. So without further ado, perfect. So yes, and good luck to all the presenters, of course. Good luck. You guys don't need it. You're going to do amazing, but of course, good luck. And there we go. We can flip into the next one here. I'm going to introduce Matt up on stage. Matt is going to be presenting Sanguine Falls.
Hello. Everyone hear me?
We can.
Fantastic. So hi, everyone. Our project is called Sanguine Falls, as you can see, and we're really excited to share our development process with you, as well as talk about a little bit about our team. And next slide, we will see what we look like. That's us on the left and the right. Here we are. That's myself, Matt Koopman, Tyler Penner, and Griffin Pesklevitz. Next slide, please. So my goal is to seek employment and collaboration in whichever role best serves the project. I've very recently gotten my Unity Associate Programmer certification. And with my background as business analyst and project manager, as well as my 10 years as an audio engineer and music producer, I really love to make transformative audio systems and develop games through effective planning and creative execution. I think I really excel in creating a tone and a vibe in a game by implementing exciting audio, creating immersive 3D environments, and designing game flow that is really engaging. Next slide.
Hi, I'm Tyler Penner, and I am looking for employment and collaboration with the goal of shipping high-quality games. Professionally, I'm a game designer that pays close attention to detail by understanding how each game component contributes to a successful final product. Additionally, I have a background in project management, and I really enjoy a challenge when solving problems. Through my interests and experience, I'm working towards being a group lead on future projects. Next slide, please.
Hey, I'm Griffin, and I'm seeking mentorship and collaboration, as well as new connections. As a hobbyist game developer, I've experimented with many tools for different areas of game development, including Unity, Unreal, and Blender. I like to try new things, and I plan to continue growing my skill set as I turn my hobby into a career. Next slide, please.
Now to introduce Sanguine Falls, a round-based survival game where you fight against waves of vampires at night and prepare during the day. Sanguine Falls all started when Griffin, Matt, and I came together with a goal to create a game that we could all be proud of. After sharing some ideas, we kept coming back to the idea of making a round-based survival game inspired by Call of Duty Zombies, a game we all grew up playing. With all of us on the same page, we set out to make a game with simple gameplay and an intriguing atmosphere. So without further ado, please enjoy our demo video for Sanguine Falls. Next slide, please.
Hello, and welcome to the evil little town of Sanguine Falls. My name is Matt, and I was responsible for that intro, and right now we are seeing the player and enemy dynamic created by Griffin and Tyler. The enemy models as well as the crossbow models were done by Tyler, and Griffin was responsible for the player controller as well as script hierarchies. So now we're seeing that it's switched to dawn, and soon we'll see that it switches to dusk. This system uses the observer pattern to send a signal that the round is ended once the last enemy has been killed. This signal is sent out to many subscribers, including the sound effects and music, the day-night controller, which changes the position of the sun and changes the wind parameters to add weather variation. Griffin did a really great job with this pause menu, and he integrated the audio settings sliders pretty seamlessly. As you can see here, Tyler did a really great job with the enemy state system and the animations, which transition pretty seamlessly together. A big challenge was getting the enemy variables set to a spot that would challenge and engage the player, but not overwhelm them too much. I know that Tyler and Griffin both spent quite a long time tweaking those values. Lastly, I created some visual and audio feedback when receiving damage or when low health. And I also created a restart menu, which features one of the many original music compositions of the project. We hope you really enjoyed it, and we hope you check it out later on itch.io.
So in September, we formed as a team early to decide on the type of game we wanted and understand our definition of an MVP. We all understood that we were highly motivated to release a fully finished game prototype. By October, we were having our weekly sprint meetings, setting goals, dividing roles, and learning the skills we needed to make the project work. Through November and December, we put in the work to meet our MVP, showcasing our prototype features in our weekly sprint meetings. By January, we were hitting our final sprint running, touching things up, preparing our itch page, YouTube, and promo stuff for marketing. And then after our release, we even received a couple pieces of feedback, including a suggestion on itch for mouse sensitivity controls, which we then implemented after a couple days. Next slide. As product owner, I coordinated the development through GitHub, and I learned the benefit of being agile. Sorry about that pun. As an environment artist and 3D modeler, I learned the hard lessons of knowing exactly where your vertices and edges are, and got familiar with tools like Blender and Pro Builder. As you can see in the bottom left GIF, our enemy was asserting his dominance and walking right through the map. This is one of the many informative bugs, as I like to call them. This one pertaining to nav mesh baking. As the developer of our round management system, I really learned the benefits of design patterns like the observer pattern, as well as the importance of refactoring after encountering timing issues in the dawn, dusk, and night events. I learned the value of subtle animations using dot tween to breathe life into visual elements, and the merit of details like visual and auditory feedback during player interactions. As a sound designer and composer, I learned the importance of coordinating between C# classes, as well as I created footstep systems that changed based on the material, ambience that faded between night and day, and round event triggered sounds. In one quick sentence, what I would say I learned the most is the importance of great design and the necessity to iterate ideas quickly.
Thank you, Matt. My main goal was to create an enemy that had intelligent behavior and felt like a vampire that was hunting the player. To do this, I built a state machine that controlled how the vampire approached the player. Although I faced a challenge in this process. The problem was that the enemy was passively circling the player, as you can see in the center video. But as a solution, I created a state tracker that could check how many vampires were in any given state. This not only allowed the vampire to check how many other vampires were attacking the player, but it also allowed me to set a timer for how frequently the vampire should try attacking. After adjusting the timer a bit, the vampire felt a lot more aggressive and finally resembled what I thought looked like a vampire on the hunt. To summarize my takeaways, I learned just how important it is to test as much as possible, and that finding creative solutions can result in solving multiple problems at the same time.
During the course of development, my primary focus was creating and refining the player character functionality. This included the player's movement and shooting, projectile logic, and the health system used for the player and enemies. I also helped with the in-game UI, primarily by implementing the pause menu. I wanted the systems I designed to be scalable and easily readable, and sometimes this was tricky. One of my challenges was refactoring my work from being something that was messy but worked into something that was clean and functional. My main takeaway while working on this project was that most anything can be accomplished with the help of documentation. This was crucial while working on the pause menu, as I had no previous experience with the Unity.time class. Next slide, please. Throughout our project, we made a conscious effort to adhere to our MVP plan. We were successful in achieving what we set out to do with this project, to make a finished and polished prototype. We all agree that we would like to continue working on this project. We have many ideas that we want to explore moving forward, including fleshing out the map to add more objectives for the player to strive for, as well as expanding on player and enemy progression. You can contact us using the links here. Thank you for coming to view our presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you guys hear me okay right now?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And my apologies at the beginning. I only introduced Matt. I meant to introduce the entire team. So thank you
Oh,
to
that's okay.
Tyler
It's
as
all
well. As you know, I was hopping in to assist today, so just
No worries.
catching up on a couple things. But that was amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to check in the questions tab here and see. So the first one that we have up here is, oops, well, I can just read it out. Can you describe the primary skills that you utilize while working on this project? I don't know if this is for each of you or for one of you to answer, but maybe we can just go quickly for each of you.
Yeah.
I can start with the first one.
Perfect.
So the primary skills that we utilize working on this project, I feel like troubleshooting is an obvious one, because as we're all fairly new game developers, I think we're always learning as we go in, and I think that was our biggest strength, was going along with troubleshooting would be that we were adapting, and I think that would be our biggest skill. That's maybe a soft skill, but another soft skill would maybe be something like teamwork. I think we really excelled as a team together, and I think we really collaborated well, and we spent a lot of time together, just kind of getting to know each other, making sure that we all kind of felt fulfilled and excited about the project. But in terms of technical skills, we all did a ton of scripting. I know that Tyler and I, and even Griffin did too. We all kind of started doing some 3D modeling, and that was a new experience for us, for sure. Yeah, I'll leave it there.
Perfect. Okay, I'll go on to the next one here. How did your knowledge and skills evolve as a result of working on this project?
Do you want me to take this one?
I can probably speak on this.
Go ahead, Griffin.
I think at the beginning of the project, I was still kind of struggling to understand the nuance of repositories through GitHub and understanding how they worked in a group setting, with different branches and commits and version control and whatnot. And Matt and Tyler were very helpful throughout the course of our project in helping me understand it more and more. And as a result of which, I feel a lot more comfortable with that skill set now than I did before.
Yeah, I also would like to add that we all kind of developed quite a few new interesting skills. Like I've never done any 3D modeling before, and I made the vampire and the crossbow, which was very fun and interesting, and I've learned that I really enjoy 3D modeling now, which is cool. And Griffin also touched on the UI, which he hasn't really touched on too much before. And yeah, I think it's all been a good learning experience for all of us.
Definitely. For me, really quickly, I would just say design patterns. I spent a whole lot of time learning about. I even bought a book on programming design patterns, and just understanding those, because they were a bit, they're as I do have C# experience, it still was a bit of a tough to rack my brain around it sometimes. So that was quite a learning experience.
Amazing. All right, Matt, I'll let you, I think you have to, yeah, there we go, perfect. And I'll pop the next one up here. Have you given thought to the dawn phase being time for the player to prepare for the next round, or what are your plans for expansion to the gameplay loop?
Yeah, definitely. What we showed basically was a prototype version of like a condensed version. We wanted, especially for the demo, we wanted to condense it so you would kind of see in a smaller sense what it would look like. But yeah, we definitely we just had a meeting yesterday about kind of the next phase of turning the day into kind of a cooldown period. The vampires run away. We do some crafting, prepare. There's Griffin's working on a progression system, and we definitely want to explore that dawn phase, and we have a lot of ideas about how to do it, especially like adding power-ups and items. We talked about that yesterday, and yeah, I think the core gameplay loop is there, and then we have all the parameters easily adjustable. So it's really just about like kind of going back to the drawing board design wise, and then we'll just we can make the each phases smaller or larger depending on how we want it to look.
We really plan on adding more of a sense of progression for the player throughout the map, as well as in how strong they're getting and how strong the vampires are getting as the rounds progress.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. And thank you, Monday, for that question. Great question. And I think we've got one more here that I'll put up on the screen. What were some of the larger challenges you each faced while working in a group, and how did you overcome them?
I can start with this one. I think a big problem that we faced early on was trying to conceive a vision that we were all on the same page for. And something that helped a lot with that was we each talked about the main thing we wanted to achieve in the game and set it as our pillars, so we all had something that was important and close to our hearts that we could all work towards. And that way, if Matt or Griffin pitched something that I knew was important to them, I would work on implementing it in the game, but also not stepping over that and making sure that they have things they wanted in the game just as much as things that I wanted in the game. They do the same.
Amazing. Perfect. Okay, we've got another one here that popped up just now. Was there any thought around optimization, either to make it run faster on any platforms or to make the code fully flexible?
Yep, I can say that. I actually accidentally thought that we were going to be deploying it through WebGL at one point, and so I went through a bit of a whole day of just like looking into optimization and stuff like that, and kind of got it sort of optimized for WebGL. So that was, I guess, our first way to do that. But yeah, we definitely did invest a lot of time into like refactoring and just kind of making things like smooth and trying to squeeze the most FPS we could out of it, and I think we did pretty good with it.
Yeah, I also coded the vampire with the state manager in mind because I was worried about having 20, 80, we've had like 80 vampires spawned in at the same time, and it was running still perfectly fine. So the main thing with that was having just one script running at a time rather than having everything in one update. So yeah, from the start, we were kind of taking that into account.
For sure.
Amazing. Well, I think that's it for the questions that we have here. Looks like we've got all the contact information on screen here. So if anybody has any further questions for this team or individuals, feel free to reach out to them using the contact information on screen here. And yeah, thank you so much, Team Seguin. I'm going to say it properly one of these times. Thank you so much for the presentation. That was awesome. And stay in the chat. If anybody wants to communicate with anyone else right now, you can still communicate with them in the chat throughout the rest of the presentation. So thank you again. I'll ask you guys to hop off screen, and I'm going to introduce the next team.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. I can do it for you, Matt.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. All right, so now without further ado, I am going to go ahead and introduce the next team. Up next, we have Catherine and Braden, and they are presenting their project called Bad Apple. So I'll get Wanai to flip perfect, and then I will invite both Catherine and Braden up on stage here, please.
Hello.
Hello, Braden. There we go. Hello, Catherine. All right, I'll get out of your way. I'll let you guys take over here, and I'll pop back up, and we can do some Q&A at the end there.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming out today. It really means the world to us. My name is Catherine, and I'm seeking an internship and/or employment as a game developer. Before we get started, we wanted to tell you a little bit about ourselves. Next slide, please. I'm an aspiring game developer looking to make unforgettable virtual experiences. I believe video games are so much more than something to pass time. They're works of art and a playground for the imagination. I've worked in the marine industry as a marine engineer, and it's my dream to make a VR game based around marine engineering and life at sea. I currently have my Unity Associate Programmer exam scheduled.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. I'm Braden, and I am also seeking employment as a game developer. I've always been really passionate about video games and computers, and now I'm planning to put that passion towards my career. Next slide, please.
Now we would like to show the demo video for Bad Apple. Next slide, please. This is Bad Apple, a game where you, an apple, decide you want to escape the grocery store. In order to do this, you'll need to fight your way out, aisle by aisle, and defeat the store manager. The game starts off with a tutorial guided by our lovely friend, Banana Joel, and his very cool sunglasses. Banana Joel explains how to move and shoot, and then the player is given the opportunity to practice on the 3 dummies in front of them. I created the dialogue system by using a simple queue of strings with a dialogue manager that allowed me to write the dialogue in the Unity Inspector for quick and easy adjustments. When it came to level design, I really wanted to emphasize that you are a tiny apple in a grocery store. I achieved this by creating large, almost looming shelves full of product, many bigger than the player. The aisle was designed to be a typical grocery store aisle, and in this case, it is the bread and grain aisle. In the start menu, I foreshadow the mini boss by having him peek around the corner of one of the aisles. And for our game over screen, we have a dead apple with classic X's for eyes. Now I'll pass it over to Braden to talk a little bit more about our enemies.
Thanks, Catherine. Here we can see the players starting the grain aisle level. First, we get a sort of introduction to each of the enemy types. Each enemy has its own unique state manager to control its behavior. The bagel and muffin both try to squish you, and the bread loaf shoots slices of bread at you. I designed a spawn manager system that allows the level designer to decide the amount and type of enemies they want to spawn in each section. When the collider for that section is hit, the spawn manager will tell the enemies to jump off the shelf. At the end of the aisle, there is a mini-boss in the form of a bag of rice, which combines the shooting and squishing behaviors of the previous enemies. Once you finish the grain aisle, you have to fight Dave, the store manager. There's another dialogue scene, and then we get into the fight. Dave also has a state manager, as well as an animation controller. First, he tries to stomp the player, causing area damage in the red circle. Then he retreats and spawns 3 random enemies. All of the enemies in this level have nav mesh components, ensuring they can navigate correctly around the shelves.
And of course, for our game win scene, we show the apple as the new store manager. So did you really win the game? Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed Bad Apple.
So as you all know, we developed this project in only a month. So we started at the beginning of December of last year. The first thing to do was planning out exactly what type of game we wanted to make. Catherine was the one who came up with the initial idea of what the game would be. And then we decided exactly what we thought we'd be able to get done within a month, as well as what the minimum viable product would be.
In sprint number 2, we focused on working on core gameplay mechanics such as spawning, enemy state machines, sourcing prefabs, and audio. We then worked on creating our first demo aisle to make sure everything worked together smoothly.
At this point, most of the core mechanics of the game were finished, and we started assembling them into a finished game. This involved building out the 3 levels, as well as finding lots and lots of bugs.
For our third sprint, we began our playtesting and final round of debugging. We added the final audio and fine-tuned the UI, such as our game win, game over screens, overall game aesthetics, and ensuring the game displayed correctly on different monitors when fully built.
And finally, we come to the end of the project and where it's at today. We have published our game to itch.io, and we're both incredibly proud of what we were able to get done in such a short period of time. It was really an amazing feeling to finally play through the finished game. Next slide, please.
As with learning any new skill, we did run into quite a few challenges, but this was where we learned the most. One of our main struggles was learning how to work efficiently and effectively in a team. Working as a team on one project is such a different experience than working on a project alone and requires a substantial amount of communication and coordination. We learned that when it comes to game development, there is no such thing as too much communication. We used Fork to manage our game, and after erasing my changes several times, we are now masters at merging branches safely and correctly. We also encountered merge conflicts and were able to work through them quickly and effectively.
Just as Catherine said, it was definitely a challenge to work on a game as a team, and we both learned a ton about doing that. I'm way more confident with GitHub now than I was at the beginning of the project. I was mostly focused on back-end development, and I had a lot of challenges with getting the animator to work properly, as well as getting all the various objects to collide correctly. The collision matrix in Unity was something that I wasn't very familiar with before this, but it came in very handy. Another thing that we both had challenges with was when we had built all the features separately and were assembling them into levels. Things would work fine on their own, but when we put it together, it suddenly wouldn't work properly.
Yeah, post-build bugs were a wild experience. It was crazy to see that while something worked perfectly in Unity, it didn't work or worked differently than expected once the game was built. The final build also affected the UI drastically and took a lot of fine-tuning at the end of the game. I learned a lot and became very comfortable with using a canvas in Unity and how all the different options affected the display. I also learned the hard way that the canvas does not display the same on every display unless you change the settings. After experiencing this, I would create a level or scene in Unity and then immediately build it once I had it working or looking the way I wanted, instead of waiting until I was ready to build the entire game.
One of the most important things when working on this team was making sure the workload was distributed equally and fairly. Through bi-weekly check-ins, we were able to establish what was working, what was not, and then redistribute tasks as needed to support each other.
Finally, I struggled with creating the dialogue system as it was something I had never done before. I had a very specific idea in mind for this system, and while the concept itself wasn't difficult, trying to get it to execute the way I wanted proved to be easier said than done. I ended up experimenting with multiple dialogue systems before settling on the one I used. That being said, this system is where I learned to start and stop time within a scene, which I think is an incredibly valuable tool. Overall, we learned so much from creating this game, and I know we will take these lessons, especially the ones learned the hard way, with us into our future games and careers. Next slide, please.
The first thing I would like to do next with Bad Apple is to further polish the behavior of the enemies, especially the animations of the boss fight. After that, I would love to make more aisles and all the unique enemies that come in those aisles.
I would love to focus on the overall UX, UI of the game by adding things such as cutscenes, credits, a proper pause and settings menu, and better transitions between levels. I created a lot of lore and backstories for this game. Every character has a backstory, feel free to ask me about them, and would love to incorporate that into the game. We also planned some personal Easter eggs for this game that didn't quite make the cut, such as a Kinder Egg as an aisle's boss, since Braden's actually from Seattle, and a gray cat somewhere in the store to represent my cat. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your time today and for all the love you have shown Bad Apple. I am so incredibly proud of the work we have achieved. We also want to congratulate all the students here today. All your hard work has finally paid off, and you should all be very proud of yourselves. Next slide, please.
Here's our contact info for anyone looking to get in touch. Thank you to everyone for coming today, and thank you to Circuit Stream for hosting Pitch Day.
To go? Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much. That presentation was amazing. And as I mentioned, their contact information is up on the screen there. So we're going to do a little bit of Q&A right now. But after that, if you want to reach out and connect with either Braden or Catherine, just reach out using these links here, the LinkedIn links on the screen. And I'm going to start with some Q&A here. How did you come up with the concept for the Bad Apple game?
Okay, I knew this was going to come up. So you know those shower thoughts you have that you probably shouldn't execute? That was Bad Apple. It just kind of came to me. I thought it was a fun idea. I pitched it in one of our labs to a couple of my classmates, and they all loved the idea. So I thought, why not? I love kooky games and kind of like weird games, and I always really wanted to make one like that, and I thought this was a great place to start.
Well, it's very fun just seeing it presented today. I haven't played it myself, but it looks very fun. So, okay, next question here. What is one skill that you weren't comfortable with before the project, but now feel that you've mastered other than GitHub?
I can take this one. Definitely. We applied a lot of solid principles on this project, and we both got way better at using those skills. Definitely, when coding, building it at the beginning to be refactorable and expandable was very important, and leaving lots of comments as well so that you can remember what you did, what you were trying to do when you go back. Even over the course of this project, which was only a month, like I had forgotten what I tried to do at the beginning. And so I was having to reanalyze my code to figure that out.
Awesome. Okay, and here I'm going to skip into the next one here. As for the Canvas UI, have you found any effective way to test it without having to build it every time?
Not quite. I think other than building it every time, I would have to change the settings. I guess there's a setting so that it'll display the same every time. But other than building it quickly, obviously I wouldn't build the whole game. I'd just build the scene itself. That was the most effective way I found to test it.
Awesome. Perfect. And it looks like we've got one more here. Did you get those 3D asset from the Unity Asset Store? And if yes, is there any problem when combining different assets from different creators?
Yeah, we actually used assets from the same pack. They're all from the same pack. So that is not the issue that we were talking about. It was more of like building the spawning system and the enemies. Like they both work fine on their own. And then when you actually put the enemies into the spawning system, then something goes wacko. Things like that.
And in regards to the assets, we did use the 3D assets from the same pack, but I did have to outsource a lot of the, I guess, the other UI. So when I built the health bar, when I was looking for a dialog box, when I was looking for different fonts. So I wanted to make sure that everything that we found did fit the aesthetic of the game. And so I tried to stick to more of a pixely or low poly looking items so that it did match. So that did pose a little bit of a challenge, but in the end, I think we matched it really well.
Amazing. All right, well, I think that's all for the questions that we have right now. I said at the beginning, but if anybody wants to reach out to Braden or Catherine, feel free to reach out to them using the contact information on the screen there. We've got the LinkedIn profiles and also direct emails, so you can just reach out and ask questions directly. So thank you to both of you again. The presentation was awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and ask you to hop off, and I'm going to invite the next team up.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I'm going to invite the next team. Next, we have Clayton, and they're going to be presenting the project Plague Slinger. So we can get Clayton up on stage here and flip the, yeah, perfect.
Hello.
Hello, Clayton, welcome. I'm gonna get out of the way here and let you hop into your presentation, and I'll see you afterwards for some Q&A.
All right. Hi, my name is Clayton Dunnington, and today I will be presenting Plague Slinger. But before we go too depth into that project, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Through CircuitStream, I have garnered skills in Unity, C#, and in different agile methodologies, and would like to share what has come of it. Next slide, please. So, I come from a small town. Shocker, I know. This is relevant because of the effect it had on learning opportunities. I never had chances to take certain coding classes, but ever since I was little, I was trying to push games to their absolute limit, trying to find their internal workings, seeing what rules they use to dictate their own setting, be it Spyro Enter the Dragonfly or Devil May Cry 2. I have also spent a lot of time playing tabletop games and learning game design and narrative design from how these tabletops play. It has constantly pushed me to think about innovative mechanics and how to approach things from a player-first perspective. Next slide, please. So, my goals. Firstly, I want to make things that inspire others. It's a really big thing for me. Sharing my creativity with others and getting feedback and creating a spiral where it just keeps bouncing off of each other, that's really important. But secondly, I really want to change where I am in life. Chasing my dream as a game developer and starting to grow professionally is why I'm here. And I want to push games to more stylish and action-oriented horizons. When people talk about projects I work on, I want people to sound like excited 5-year-olds. Next slide, please. So, let me paint you a picture. A low fantasy western where you the player, use herbalism and guns to protect the people of the lands. You play as a plague doctor, an individual who is part of an organization that sends doctors to help small communities with problems they may be having. You have been tasked with investigating the town and the undead scourge that has begun to plague it. Unfortunately, you arrived too late, and no one is left. You need to investigate and cleanse this land. Next slide, please. But before we go into the demo, I want to preface that I did not make any of the assets. I did do the animations for the firing and reload, and this is the first of 2 levels. So, from this demo, the thing that I'm most proud of is the reload mechanic. I was able to accurately replicate the reloading of a revolver, and the length of the reload animation is based off of how many bullets have been fired. Next slide, please. So, challenges. Every person faces challenges during projects. I'm no different. My first challenge, though, was making enemies worth fighting, enemies that are a threat. In my gameplay loop, I accomplished this by using a method called action economy, and some smart adjustments to player speed while reloading. Action economy comes from tabletop gaming and refers to having enemies act in groups to attempt to overwhelm the player, allowing 10 damage to quickly stack up to 30 or 40. Additionally, the player slows down significantly while reloading, making it so they have to think about when they reload, or the skeletons will get them. When I was working on the game, When I was working on the game, more so on the first level, I also found that the game was feeling empty. I struggled to find the right amount of objects to add to help fill the scene and make it feel like it was a town that was once lived in and not just a random mesh of polygons. But I think my biggest challenge was I worked hard during December to make something that explored lighting and ambience as well as some narrative, both visual and written. But it was a solo experience, and it was a lot for me. Every single aspect of the game I had to go over myself. But I'm really proud of what I've accomplished in the 6 months I've been learning game development. So, like Catherine said, the importance of testing in a built setting. I spent the first 3 weeks of my game only testing in editor, and that would have created a lot of problems if I wasn't iterating constantly and just using very clean coding. I managed to minimize the effects, and once I realized I should start testing it in a built setting, I was able to quickly put things together. State machines, they are fantastic. End of statement. While I only used one in my project to control the flow of the game state, I feel like I implemented it positively, and I wish I had time to use more of them. But my final takeaway is that I'm more capable than I thought. I have grown a lot in the last 6 months, and I'm really excited what comes next. Speaking of what comes next, for the game, I want to include more enemies. Currently, we only have the one skeleton with a shield. Having a ranged skeleton with a bow, and possibly 2 archetypes of a different type of creature, something Western, maybe chupacabra. But I also want to expand on the herbalism and the weapons in the game, allowing for the player to find plants and use them in interesting ways to possibly heal themselves or fight against the enemies. It's very important to the power fantasy of being a botanist. But the next steps for me are going to be continuing to learn. I will be taking my Unity Associate Game Developer course and exam within the coming months. I will also be on the lookout for internships, mentorships, and really anything that will give me some new learning opportunities. I am really glad I had this chance to present for you. My goals were to finish the project and get my face out there, to network and look for more chances to learn. I cannot say I will be going back to Plague Slinger in the foreseeable future, but that's because I would rather take what I've learned and move forward. Who knows? Thank you again for your time. I would be more than happy to answer any questions, and here's my contact slide.
Thank you so much, Clayton. That was awesome. I don't know if you saw the comments coming up during your presentation, but everybody loved the feel of the game, the artwork.
Too focused.
Yeah, that's okay. I can just share it with you. Everybody loved it. So let me see if we've got any questions lined up here. Hold on, I've got the chat tab popping off here first. I'm going to ask you, how did you initially come up with the concept for this game?
So I was inspired by a lot of games in the Western genre, but not in the way you might think. When I was growing up, there was a underrated gem called Dark Watch, which was the only fantasy Western I had ever played. It was made by Raven High Moon Studios. I have never found another game that plays like it or has the same feel. And I want to try and make a game I want to try and make a spiritual successor in a way. I know where I'm not coming close to where to really being the spiritual successor, but I'm on the track.
Oh yeah, so you're at early stages. Give it a year or two. Now let's see here. Let's put this up here. A very impressive game, Clayton. Would you want to expand your team too while you continue building your game?
Of course. I know where my limitations lie, and I know where my strengths are. And I grew quite a bit during this project. I played with lighting for the first time. I played with sound effects in ways I had not. I would bring someone in on a heartbeat, a way to try and get away from store-bought assets and to help share the load. It was definitely a lot.
Absolutely, and help you achieve some of those other characters that you were talking about as well, some of the Western enemies and those things. So,
indeed,
perfect. So here's the next one here. How did you prioritize tasks and manage your time while working on this project?
So at first, I came into this and I was so focused on making the minimal viable product that I spent my first entire sprint just focusing on making a character controller that was smooth and worked. Once that worked, I implemented shooting, because in a first-person shooter, that's really what the player is going to be interacting with. And if the shooting doesn't feel nice, the game won't really feel nice. I then proceed step by step after that, like, okay, now that we have the shooting, we have something we need to shoot. Now that we have something we need to shoot, we need to find a place to put them. And it allowed for very chaining development.
Awesome. All right, we've got a few more questions in here too. What made you put so much work into the reload functionality the most, if people wouldn't notice it?
Well, I asked myself that very question, but I was deciding, how do I make the player interact with the skeletons and not just want to run past them? Because a lot of players do want to just run past their enemies when they can. So by putting emphasis onto the game mechanics around the reloading, I was able to force the player's hand. You can't run away from the skeleton so easily, because when you reload, you're slow.
Perfect.
As well as if you were firing a revolver, you would want it to not. Sorry, the words escaped me.
That's okay. That made sense. If you think of what you were going to say, the second thought there, just so we can loop back around there, but that made sense. I'm going to pop the next one up here for you.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I was just saying the question.
Okay. Can you talk a bit more in depth how you reload mechanic works and how you got individual bullets to reload?
So I used an empty timer, and every time the player fires, they are adding time to this timer. That timer is then the number used for the length of the reload animation, allowing it to be varied and easily changeable.
Awesome. Perfect. And then last question we've got up here for you right now, Clayton, is what tabletop games inspired you?
Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder are obviously the really big ones that most people have played. However, I think a really underrated one would be Fantasy Flight Games' Star Wars system. They use fate dice and allow for degrees of success and failure, meaning you can fall forward or take a step backwards. balance, allowing the players to always be moving forward, but not necessarily in the ways they want. And I want to try and bring that into games as well, not having a binary definition for passing or failing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Clayton, for the presentation. As I shared with you before, the chat was exploding while you were presenting. Everybody loved the project there. And as Clayton mentioned, this is the contact information up on the screen for him here. You can reach out on LinkedIn, and there's also a portfolio link there as well. And of course, the email and the phone down at the bottom. So if you want to connect with him after the event here today, feel free to reach out. But thanks again, Clayton. I'm going to go ahead and invite the next team up on stage here. Oh.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Oh, hang on. I'll let when I reshare the presentation there. Sorry about that, folks. We closed the wrong window. Now everybody just gets to stare at me for a second here. There we go. That's better. Awesome. All right, so thanks again, Clayton. Next we have Manjeev and Trevor with their project titled Eclipse Abyss.
Hello.
Hello, Manjeev. And
Hello.
there we go. Hi, Trevor. Okay, I'll get out of the way for you guys. Go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, hello. We're here to present our pitch for Eclipse Abyss, brought to you by Trevor and myself, Manjeev. Our goal for this pitch is to showcase a game and persuade potential recruiters who want to get in contact that we are valuable assets in this industry. So we'll kick off by introducing the dream team. I'll pass it on to Trevor on the next slide, please.
Hi, I'm Trevor Reed, and I'm based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I'm looking to work within a team setting, remotely or in a studio, and I'm currently on track to getting my Unity Associate certification. Just some background knowledge on me. A couple of years ago, I completed a video production course at a local college in Ontario, spawning some fun projects as hobbies, and now I'm able to incorporate my video skills within my coding and game development journey. One other fun fact about me is that other than gaming and streaming to the masses, my other hobby would be fencing for a little bit of exercise and fun. Some of my roles within the final capstone project would include engineering the gameplay mechanics through Unity and scripting in Visual Studio, implementing UI elements where it was needed to make our game pop, cutscene creation for the final boss of our project, quality testing the game every step of the way to make it feel fully complete and ready to play. I'll pass it on to Manjeev. Next slide, please.
So hey, I'm Manjeev. I was born in Mauritius, then a few years back I've moved to Australia and completed a bachelor's degree in mechatronics engineering. Currently I'm seeking for a job to either work remotely or locally, preferably in Australia. I have a few hobbies, but the main one includes surfing, skateboarding, sports, gaming, cooking, and even the good old-fashioned cosplaying at conventions. Technical skills I've mastered from completing the Circuit Stream Bootcamp include the programming, level designing, UI design, QA, sound VFX, GitHub, version control, and project management. Next, I'll pass it on to Trevor to introduce our game. Next slide, please.
Eclipse Abyss is an FPS narrative action adventure experience, made for the solo playing experience where the player's choices at the end of the game will absolutely matter. Elements of the game will include different mazes for the player to go through, puzzles to solve, and surviving different enemy attacks throughout your experience in Eclipse Abyss.
Our focus is people who enjoy story-based games with great gameplay. When brainstorming for the theme of how we want the layout of the game, the thought of making each floor and level change, giving it a seasonal allocation, summer, winter, spring, and autumn. This was done because it was fun and also shows that the dungeon having a different ecosystem than the outside world. Next slide, please. We'll share ideas. Next slide, please. For inspiration, we made For inspiration, we made an assembly of different art style and existing games that could be implemented to our game. This is a shorter version of the mood board we use to show the different style of enemies, weapon, and environment we considered for the game. And next slide, please.
Within Eclipse Abyss's first version, we wanted to create a minimal viable product to showcase what our game will be all about. We added 4 different weapons, varieties of weapons for the player to use within their time playing Eclipse Abyss, which in version 1 we were able to accomplish all 4 but held back on the 4th weapon for a very special upcoming level. We also wanted to create a full and complete package with a beginning, middle, and end to our game. To achieve that, we wanted to create interfaces that would fully be fleshed out for the player to use and guide them through the game until the very end. Lastly, we wanted to create more than 2 levels to give the player a lot to play in within their time with Eclipse Abyss. I'm happy to say that we were able to achieve a lot more than we set out to do in the beginning of our planning and execution. Next slide, please.
So the team was formed at the start of November. Immediately, we implemented the agile methodologies. The biggest hurdle we faced was, so what game should we make? Which is a good question first. Then we proposed for each member to research and present ideas on what they would be interested to work on. As a team, we vote on the best one. The planning and testing idea took the whole of November to do, and we organized our ideas using Trello as our project management tool and Draw.io to create a flowchart for planning of the story and levels. We did a few sprints between the end of November and December to get the project going. However, the time zone between Trevor and I was always conflicting. When I was sleeping, he would work on the project and vice versa. This was a blessing in disguise as it made the progress of the game always going efficiently.
When it came time for the development to start with Eclipse Abyss, we started crafting the basics like what our player character would move and fight like. Adding 1 new weapon at a time, we made sure each weapon worked and was ready to be implemented fully into our actual game levels. Over the time, new things were added to spice up the gameplay experience, like level entrance UI telling the player where they ended up each time they descended the floor, UI to showcase the amount of daggers the character had left in their arsenal, and connective tissue to connect each sandbox level Manjeev created using portals at the end of each level, leading to the next and the next. For deployment to happen, we tested our game a lot, making sure it felt polished and was fun to play. We changed hit points, attack damage from the player to the enemies, and created a new end menu to wrap up the gameplay experience for our players. Next slide, please. The development process for our final project was a breeze for about 90% of the time. But with all projects and teamwork, we encountered our fair share of problems that we needed to fix before the deadline of the game was due. I find rigging animations to be rewarding and exciting to see a still character have a breath of life drawn into it with an animation track. A couple of issues I did encounter through early on development were usually based within animation and animating our enemies. One thing I figured out early on was that the box gliders, although they are attached to the game objects we are animating, do not move with the animations, causing the biggest issue of the player and the enemies not being able to attack one another and deal damage. To solve this massive issue, I figured out that enabling my box gliders within the animation track of the game object was how it would work. It was so simple.
And that goes for most of our other issues we had as well. If the enemy wasn't responding correctly when the player was nearby, we just decrease or increase the values within the state machine scripts. If a character animation wasn't rigged right, it was usually because a simple component was not rigged correctly. And if a mechanic wasn't working, like for example, the enemy and nav mesh we created for the maze level, we simply just cut it out for the time being to work on bigger tasks at hand. In the end, every problem we had ended up being a pretty simple solution.
And now please take a look at our trailer for Eclipse Abyss. Next slide, please.
Oops. Is it not working? Click.
Okay, it doesn't look like it's working on my end. Please feel free to share your screen on that end if you're able to. Well, I try on my end to play the video.
Okay. We could, yeah, one sec. In the Eclipse Abyss, the powerful lies at its deepest point. The Eclipse Shard, held by a powerful guardian. controls dominion over a dark and mysterious land. Follow the traveler, Finn Stoneheart, on his quest to delve deeper and survive the harsh conditions and corrupted enemies of the Abyss to find treasure and glory.
Harnessing the power of 3 distinct weapons, Finn Stoneheart will traverse the dungeon with weapons ranging from a classic all-rounder sword and shield, a warhammer axe to deal massive damage to his enemies, or even using throwable daggers for long-ranged attacks.
Proceeding through the floors of the Abyss, Finn Stoneheart will even notice changes of the dungeon ecosystem. Each floor will vary in seasons from winter, spring, summer, and fall. Each will offer a variety of challenges and obstacles for the traveler to overcome.
In version 1, you can expect 4 unique levels, battle skeletons, a horde of zombies, and escape a dreaded but beautiful spring maze, all leading to a final battle with version 1's final boss, Toro Boyka. Eclipse Abyss, available now.
For free on itch.io.
Alright, thank you. Cool. One big... Oh, just one sec. Next slide, please. Thank you. One big takeaway from our final capstone project was managing the scope of our game within a tight time frame. Originally, Eclipse Abyss's first version would have contained 10 big levels with fun seasonal-based puzzles to solve and different enemies to fight. Getting closer and closer to our deadline, we made the executive decisions to add and take away certain things to help us make a smaller and polished game rather than a big and unpolished experience. Managing the scope of our game really helped us out in the long run.
Addition to more interactive elements and story to the game, in the current version, the game currently does not have the narrative story we planned. And a lot of our initial scope had to be reduced to have something for this deadline. But in future updates, we will implement our original story and make it more user-friendly.
To polish our game even further, we would like to implement a system where our player can achieve high scores based on the enemies they defeat and how fast they can beat our levels. We feel like this would add another level of polish and fun to our project.
Moving on to our final point, we did use Dark Soul as an inspiration, but we didn't want people to suffer with the difficulty of the level. Feedback from third-party gamers mentioned that it was either too easy or some said it was too hard. We realized that not everyone is a pro gamer, me included, by the way. And in future updates, different modes will be added so that players can choose between an easy mode, normal mode, and a hard mode. Next slide, please. Anyone who's interested to get in touch with us for potential opportunities, by all means, connect with us with either on LinkedIn or even send us an email. Take a screenshot, check out Eclipse Abyss version 1 on itch.io. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting Eclipse Abyss. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. We're ready for some questions now.
Yeah, and I'm getting booted out of my location here right now. I'm going to let One Eye take over for this Q&A if that's okay. And
that's
I will
fine.
be back after this. Perfect. All right, One Eye, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Tyler.
Oops.
Okay. Let me see what questions we have for you.
One Eye, can we go back to the contact just in case anyone wants to get in contact as well? Contact slide.
Yes. There we go. Okay, so first question, when's the best time you found to meet up with the time difference?
I'll let you go with that.
Okay. Normally we had class around 9:30 EST for me. So we kind of just went off by that kind of like time frame. I'm pretty bad with staying up pretty late too. So Manjeev would just be starting his day and I'd be burning the midnight oil with him for at least a couple hours before I had to go to bed. Obviously Git and GitHub was such a blessing to help us kind of manage everything together. And especially just communication through that time difference was key to making all of this happen.
Mm-hmm. All right, awesome. can you describe the decision-making process for the project design and development?
So for most of the design process, we basically just hold like meetings together and decided on different factors. And we voted on which one is the best, which one is the easiest feasibility to implement, and we just went with that. So we tried to make it as logical and mostly user-friendly to our user. Keep in mind who we want to target as well. And yeah, we chose different things that are existing and made sure
And
everything worked out.
I would say too that since it's more of a minimal viable product, like just the start point for what we want to do, low poly was pretty fun to use and just kind of mess around with all those kind of assets. So that's just my take on it.
All right. And the next question is, what are some of the new skills you learned while developing the project? Sorry.
You can start, Trevor.
Yeah. New skills. I mean, a lot of it was expanding on stuff that we kind of learned throughout the boot camp, but I really honed in on the animation and the animation tracks and kind of working with that, making sure that everything was fluid and everything didn't, like we had some points where, say, our Minotaur boss would skip animations and wasn't very fluid. So stuff like that was a nice hurdle to overcome and just make sure everything had a nice movement to it. So I guess animation would be my new skill.
For me, it was three things. It was just polishing the programming skills. Secondly, 3D modeling. And finally, it was Git version control. We took an entire day, just Trevor and I, just to practice how Git works and do like a fake repo just to make sure it doesn't mess up everything when we have the actual project. And that was the biggest thing that we are super grateful, because GitHub kind of saved our lives when we needed it to work. And final take was project management. We didn't have I didn't have much experience with Trello or any other project management tools. And it was good to keep track of what we had to complete, what we finished. And I know what Trevor finished thanks to Trello, because it just keeping track each of our tasks. And I guess that would be all for now. Yeah.
All right, so we have another question here. Did you guys end up spending much time balancing weapons or enemies? What was the process like?
I think the last day we definitely were messing around with different enemy attack points and weapon attack points throughout the process. I think it was the last day, and not to throw Manjeeb under the bus, but he was like, we got to make it simpler. We got to make it easier for our players to play through. So the last day, we definitely moved it more than other days. But we did have time to actually move everything around, make sure it felt nice and ready to play. Yeah.
In my defense, I was struggling to play our games, and I thought it was too hard, but it turns out it was too easy. I just was really bad at playing the game, and so we tried to make it as good for everyone to play, but ended up making it too easy for some, and that's why we had the idea to make it like have different modes in future updates.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So last question. What are you the most proud of when creating this game?
Can I start?
Yeah, you could start. Yeah.
I'm proud that we had 4 levels. I didn't expect I would be able to finish the four levels out of 10. And what I'm proud of Trevor also. He did really good. He made such a good trailer for us, as you all seen. And overall, the teamwork was really fantastic. And our communication was on point. Every time something went wrong, we just quickly talked to each other and fixed it as best we could. And yeah, I guess our teamwork and communication really helped us with this game. And we needed help. We just helped each other pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, same with what Manjeev said. Manjeev was very good with his documentation and getting everything running from the beginning. But what I'm most proud of is just honestly the whole game coming together and what we were able to accomplish within a month. Again, we were very ambitious, like Manjeev and I have said. But to make 4 levels and to make them different from each other and have some really fun mechanics, in my opinion, come together was really something special, I guess, for what we could do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Manjeev and Trevor. And for anyone that wants to get in touch with them, their contact information is up on screen, their emails, their LinkedIn addresses, as well as their portfolios. All right. So up next, I am going to be calling up Ilya Volkov, who is presenting their project Far and Beyond. So Ilya.
All right, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. All right, so I am going to give you the stage, and I'll be back for the Q&A session.
Thank you. All right, let's start. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ilya Volkov, and today I'm going to show you my 2D game, Far and Beyond. You can go to the next slide. And first of all, let me introduce myself. Originally, I came from Ukraine. I moved to Canada a few years ago, and this was a point in life where I started also to work on in software development. For almost already for an entire year, I'm working with C# and JavaScript. But I decided that I wanted to like boost my knowledge. And that's why I took this course. Since I wanted to acquire new knowledge to become more scalable in a place of game development. This is how I actually learned about Unity, because I used to know Unreal and use C++ to make games before, but the course introduced me into Unity and how to use C# to actually create games. All right, you can go for the next slide. And so before I will present you my project, I want to mention what was my main inspiration for it. Since there is like a lot of big titles, such as like Terraria and Mario, everybody knows them. I wanted to create very similar systems to them, like fighting parkour games. There's also a lot of minor mining games and parkour games, like such as Celesta. This is where the game is only about parkour. But in the end, I decided to go more on like Terraria detail of combat and parkour. And you can go for the next slide. And so about the project, all right, let's dive into it, and I will tell you what the Far Beyond really is. It's a 2D platformer game with dual combat system using both melee and range combat, with the separate characters that will represent like melee and range combat, knight and archer accordingly. Game will also challenge you in a different ways, such as you need to find the ways to progress forward. You need to find a specific lever to move forward. You need to kill an enemy to progress, and there's a lot of variety of enemies as well as traps. Whereas there is like a skeleton or a crow or even a small trap where you need to like jump around or don't fall for a pit. And then I decided that I won't be making a hard parkour system so that the player can focus more on exploration and combat. This is why I mostly was focused on synced locations for levels. Unfortunately, in the process, I decided to cut off the idea of making actual 3 worlds. So I made it 2 worlds that are dungeon and plains. The third one that was cut off was tundra. This was just like snow biome. That's was because I understood that I could not perform everything in this kind of short period of time as a small developer. I mean, as a solo developer. That's where you can go to the next slide. And that's what brings me to a project timeline, where first of all, I took a part in actually looking for assets, because it was very hard for me to develop everything by myself. Not develop, I mean create and draw. So that's why I took a peek into the internet and decided and was looking for what will suit the best for my ideas. In the next months, I used these assets, and I was starting slowly implementing my ideas and to actually create the world and make my character look good in this environment, and make sure that the game will give you a feeling from moving from open space plains to a more darker, grimmer dungeon, and there will be traps that will prevent you to moving forward, while in place it's a much easier place. And then in January, I decided to concentrate all of my power and skills to complex mechanics such as AI and combat system. And this is also the place where I spent a lot of time polishing all of the mistakes and bugs that came out from the smallest one to the most complex ones. This was very, very brief period of me thinking how to implement the character ideas and how to make them look good and make their attacks look good accordingly to their animations. And in the last month, this month, it's not last month, it's this month actually, I'm still planning to make a release of the game in a mobile, since it's just basically a demo of the game. Later on, I will be posting it in a mobile, in a Google Play Market, and hopefully in the App Store later on. All right, you can go for the next slide. And this will be a demo video.
Hi, and welcome to the demo video. Here you can see our 2D main character. Using keys, player can walk, jump, and attack. Each action will be followed by a specific animation. For example, when a player jumps, he is followed by jumping animation, and when he falls, he is followed by falling animation. When a player is attacking, a specific animation will be played that will stop all other animations and have a small delay until the next attack can be possible. Attacks can stun enemies. Stunned enemies cannot strike back. If the player got hit, he will have iframes that will prevent enemy to attacking him again. Alright, it's enough for the player. Let's speak about the AI skeleton that is trying to kill us. This is a basic enemy. In the passive state, each enemy will follow a specific route using pathfinding tools to collect all the predefined checkpoints. Once he will spot the player, he will become aggressive and immediately start chasing the player until he will get to a certain range to attack him. But it's not necessary to fight him. Once you leave his trigger area, he will go back to peaceful state and continue following his route. It's easy to deal with enemies one by one, but it's much harder to deal with them when they're in groups. So we kill him, he will die, and he will go ahead to his dying animation and then disappear. So here you can see also the coins. They are collectibles. You can use them later on in a shop to buy new items and unlock new worlds. Here you'll use these moving platforms as well as stationary platforms to get upstairs to the flying island to unlock the pathway to the castle. It's going to be done by the lever that can be activated by E button. I will show you just like that. Once the lever is activated, we can pass through the gates easily. There is no more, nothing that stop us. And here we go. Alright, this will be it. The castle is more dangerous area. The castle has a variety of traps. They're very dangerous because some of them are obvious and some of them are not, as well as enemies that are growing stronger in the castle. I showed just a small portion of the game. If you want to try it by yourself, you can go on each layout page. It's free of charge and it's in the WebGL version, so anybody who wants can try it.
All right, here you saw just a small demo video of the game. As I mentioned, it's just very brief demo. But let's speak what was the main challenges of the game. And I can say combat and AI is for sure is a very hard thing to create. Mostly actually that was mostly AI rather than combat. And that's why I gave a lot of focus for it in January to make sure that AI will actually follow the pathfinding tools that I created. Because the AI is using the pathfinding to go from one point to another, and also if the player will be in range, he will also be following the player. So it's a very complex mechanic, and it was actually very hard. But I can say it was not that hard for me as a programmer to accomplish that. But since I'm not an artist, and one of the first and was the biggest challenges that I encountered was building new fully functional level from scratch. Since you have to concentrate on both visual and technical aspects of the game, you have to make game to look good and to make work properly. That was a problem of the creation of the worlds. And the third problem comes also from the creation of the world, since you have to make proper collision detection for the tile maps. And this is where I understood that for each corner, you have to create a very specific collider that will let a player walk on it and to work as theirs. And it was very complex because there was a lot of places where character was getting stuck or just cannot simply go up top because it practically works as a wall. And there are also takeaways, which definitely looks like an improvement, but there are also key points in the game. Since I want to mention them one more time, is AI. I can indefinitely speak how you can improve an AI, especially since how AI is complex nowadays. This is why I'm still finding the ways to find it better to work. Let's talk about a few words about the sounds. There's very few sounds and things like music that I might put in the game, since you have to very specify them for the specific environments. And I was just thinking that it will be better to move on rather than stalling on such small details. Item system and UI story system is a very specific system that is I'm going to mention in next slide, which is can you go to the next slide? Yeah, in the next steps, because even though it was a takeaway, I also decided to go to move it to next steps in the end, because development of the progress system was very tied up with that, since I already created items as scriptable objects and coins to work with shop, but I understood that the whole story in progress system will be only working if I'm going to use the proper items to actually balance my enemies and make them work as proper checkpoints when you get a certain item, and then build will grow stronger, as well as your items will boost yourself. About the animations, I will speak it very briefly. I decided that I also wanted to add animated backgrounds and make more smoother animations. But I'm also can say I'm pretty confident about the animations already. But I still think I can. There's a very big field where I can work in. As for the personal goals, I always like to set up the targets for myself, and so I want to grow even more in the game development field, because I'm still very novice in the fields that are not related for programming, such as animation and art style. That's why it was very hard for me. But I learned a lot of new in the course. And that's why I'm planning to find a job in game development to actually like look how the professionals works and to work with them, because I'm more of the programmist, as I said. Right, you can go to the next slide. And thank you for being here today. And I look forward to sharing more about my game. And if you need anything to know, here's my contact information. You have to check. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Yes,
Okay.
I still cannot hear him.
It's okay. It's okay. Whilst he's getting set up there, I can continue until you're ready, Tyler. So we'll just continue to the question and answer session. So the first question that we have up for you is, what were you going for with a more floaty movement mechanic?
What do you mean by more floating movement mechanic? I did not got the idea. I actually saw this question when I was. Are you speaking about moving platforms, or you're speaking about how the player jumps? It's very different question. If you're speaking about how the player jumps, yeah, I actually specifically put the gravity and make a double jump for the player, so that it will be easier for him to float around. So I made a little bit less gravity on rigid body, and that's how the player is actually moving slower in there.
All right. Thank you, Ilya. Tyler, just checking to see if you're ready. No. Nope, we can't hear you still. All right. Nope, still can't hear you. That's okay. I'll continue. So we'll go on to the next question. Typically, platform games rely heavily on movement ability. How did you aim to balance this mechanic in game to keep players challenged, engaged, and supported? Example, how many jumps the player is able to make consecutively?
Yeah, as I mentioned already, there is only double jump possible. This is just to make the player parkour easier, because I wanted to make the player focus more on detail of combat and exploration of the world, to finding the specific places and routes to actually progress forward. But if you asking about the balance, more of the balance, I actually more rooted to balance the combat system, to make the player entertain by fighting the enemies. And there's also ways to actually jump around the enemy, so you can actually skip them, but in some certain places you cannot do it.
All right. All right. Thank you, Ilya. And for your last question, did you find any difficulties when testing the game because you created the world from scratch? For example, make sure the player can go where it wants and don't get stuck at some point.
Yeah, so this is actually a very fun question, because when I first started creating the world from scratch, I understood that my main problem will be for actually the player can go out of the bounds for in some spots. That's why I understood that you have to make to block out the specific places in the world. That's so that the player not gonna fall off or not gonna go in place where you don't want him to go. It's very, very small thing, but it was very interesting to do, and a lot of games does that. So they make sure that you cannot actually go in places you don't want to.
All right. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ilya. So that was all the questions that we had for you. And if anyone wants to get in touch with Ilya, his contact information is up on the screen. We have his email, his LinkedIn contact, as well as his phone number. All right. Now we'll move on to the next presentation, which is our last presentation for today. We will be calling on stage Axel Monreal to present their project Taquitos Adventure.
You hear me, Wanai?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Thank you, Wanai. Okay, I'm ready for that.
All right. Okay. I will exit the stage, Axel.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Hi everyone, thank you for being here today. My name is Axel and I'm going to show you my project called Taquitos Adventure. Next slide, please. I'm going to start talking a little bit about myself. I'm from Mexico City, but I'm located now on Vancouver, BC since 4 years ago, more or less. I have a bachelor in computer science that I studied in Mexico City as well, and I have experience as a backend developer, which programming languages such as PHP and JavaScript, and relational databases such MySQL or SQL Server from Microsoft. And I'm looking for a full-time job or internship in the video game industry to start my career in this exciting environment. Next slide, please. So to create this game, I take a little bit or too much of inspiration about the game that made me fall in love with video games. That was the series of Crash Bandicoot. I was and still being a big fan of this game. That's the reason I want to create a 3D platform game, an adventure game. In this game, you have Taquito, who is an avatar that players control and have basic movement, jump and avoid enemies. This level has 4 primary areas that are like big platforms and are connected to small platforms challenge that you need to pass and avoid enemies in order to reach this level. Next slide, please. So for build this game, I implement interfaces to interact with objects and buttons around the scene. As well, I need to implement animations in both the player and enemies alongside the platforms to make the game fun. And then I also create an inventory UI to display the items that Taquito collects around the games that actually are power-ups that he will use whenever the player wants. And finally, another big point of the game is the state machine in the enemy that basically handles the behavior of this enemy and tells when need to follow or attacks Taquito. Next slide, please. So since we have around a month to develop this game, this project, I start creating a repository and search basically for all the assets I will need. And for save time, I use assets from the Unity store to be focused on the programming and the functionality of this game. So during the first week, basically just implement the player input. The second week was all about the enemy behavior, the animation, the player damage, and started a research of scriptable objects that we saw on the bootcamp, but I didn't have a good idea how to implement. So in the third week, I work in the inventory system, implementing these power-ups and the interfaces that you previously saw. So in the fourth week, basically was put everything together, create the menus and adding sounds, effects to the game. And in the final week, I have a full demo of the game that I share with my with some people and my friends in order to identify if they can see any big bug or something that I need to fix before submit this game. Next slide, please. So let's take a look of Taquito in action.
Welcome to Taquito's adventure. Help Taquito rescue his best friend Mimoso, overcoming challenges and advancing through the lands and avoiding enemies. In this game, the player controls Taquito with simple movements using arrows on the keyboard and jumping skills by pressing the spacebar. Taquito can collect 3 types of power-ups: health recovery, speed, and jump boost, executed as scriptable objects, providing a user-friendly and flexible interface. The power-ups are useful for escaping from enemies or reaching shortcuts, in addition to healing Taquito when he's injured. Implementing interfaces allows me to keep a consistent way of interacting with objects, like the elevator platform. One of the big challenges was synchronizing animations between enemy attacks and player hits. To solve it, I appealed to animation events to trigger specific functions at precise moments during animation playback. Also, I created a Git repository to track changes on the project, making regular pushes and commits to avoid problems when implementing new features. To respawn Taquito when he falls, I implement a basic checkpoint system to know the new Taquito's position on the scene. The state machine used on enemies makes it easier to manage their behavior, such as following and attacking Taquito when they are close. I'm very proud of and satisfied with the final product. I really did my best to put into practice most of the things I learned in the last months of boot camp. I hope you enjoy helping Taquito achieve this level.
Okay, everyone. So I really hope you enjoying playing this game later. Talking about the challenges that I found while developing this game was the fact to respawn Taquito when falls from the platforms and make a kind of checkpoints to respawn in the correct location, as well synchronizing both the player and the enemy animation, especially when the enemy attacks Taquito, because I noticed a delay at the beginning, and I was able to fix that delay using animation events. And I guess the main challenge for me was put everything together, because one thing is work with the enemy only in one part of the scene and work in the platform system in another part, and implement everything together was really challenging for me. Talking about the takeaways, I really noticed that even the small details like adding sound effects to these projects give me a lot of knowledge, and I'm so glad for that. Also, I really feel that improve my debugging skills every day. I found new errors that I need to solve, and some of they take me more than one day to figure out. And now I would like to say that I really feel more confidence programming on C# because I never touched this language before, and now I feel that I'm pretty good on it. Next slide, please. So what is next? Talking about the game, I really want to implement player attacks, because now Taquito just can run away and avoid the enemy. Also, I want to implement more levels to create a game longest, and improving the game performance, since I want to move this game to mobile devices. And what is next about me? My main goal right now is find a job in the video game industry and collaborate with other developers or designers to keep learning and practicing my new skills. And for sure, I want to finish this game. Next slide, please. So that's it for me, guys. Here's my contact information. Feel free to take a look of other projects that I have on my portfolio. And thank you so much for your attention and support, every one of us. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Hear me now? Yes? Perfect. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. That project was also amazing. They've all been amazing today, but I don't know if you had a chance to kind of survey the chat while you were presenting there, but everybody loved
the animations, the sounds, and just the overall game. So thank you for sharing that with us here today. I'm going to see if we've got any questions coming in here on the questions side. I'm sure we're going to have a bunch here. Okay, so the first one came through. How did you ensure the quality of your work in this project? What testing or validation methods did you use?
Oh, well, I guess the big validation that I implemented in this project was when I share with other people, because one thing is make your best effort and play your own game and feel, oh my God, I do it, I'm finished, I'm done. And other is when you put online in one place and you feel and you get the feedback for other people. I would like to say that most of the feedbacks that I got at the beginning was that the platform system was really challenged to pass, so I have to decrease the difficulty a little bit, because as I told you, one thing is prove by myself and say that it's okay because it's my game and I'm the only one on there. Yes, basically that was.
Perfect. All right, we've got some more questions that have come in here. What would you do differently if you were to start this project from scratch?
Well, I really has a lot of bit of mistakes in the development, of course. I really feel that I not waste, but I focus a lot of time in the enemy behavior, especially in synchronizing the animations when attacks. And I really have another ideas to implement, but because of the time that I waste there and the fact that we have only 1 month to develop this game, I really feel that maybe planned it a little bit better before I start coding, because for me it was like, let's jump to coding because I'm not going to finish if I didn't start on time. So maybe taking a little bit of more time to think what I want to build, in fact.
And that's always, a little bit of a challenge when you're doing something in combination with a course at the same time. So you've got some deadlines, obviously, but that makes a ton of sense. A little bit more time to plan out of it as well. All right, we've got another question here. Can you discuss how your project could be scaled or improved upon in the future?
Well, I never try even a single project make on Unity on mobile, but I guess that's the path that I want to follow now, and I guess that will be the big improvement. But I need to focus on the resources that I'm consuming now, using the prefabs and the platform system. The animation consume a lot of memory, so I need to improve the performance first in order to move from other part then.
That makes sense. And what do you think was the hardest thing you had to learn about C# coding?
Honestly, at the beginning, I thought that was the syntaxes, since I was confident on PHP and JavaScript, and it's different. But I guess the fact of the programming-oriented object always has been a little bit hard for me. Doesn't matter the language, is always something that I really need to put a lot of effort in order to get it. So yeah, that.
Perfect. I'm just looking here. I think that might have been the last question that we had come through there. So so thank you so much, Axel. As I mentioned before, the project was amazing. Your presentation was amazing. They've all been amazing today. Thank you to everybody here. On the screen for Axel, you can see some links. You've got the link to the portfolio, the LinkedIn account, of course, GitHub, and then the direct email. So if you have any questions for Axel about his project, or if you have any opportunities for him or for any of the speakers here today, feel free to reach out to any of them using the contact information. But I believe at this time I'm going to invite One Eye back up on stage, and we're going to the event for today. So thank you so much, Axel.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Tyler. All right. Well, congratulations, everybody. I just wanted to offer my very sincere congratulations to each of our graduates. I know how hard you've all worked, and you should be very proud of yourselves. It's been such a pleasure getting to know each and every one of you and helping you leverage your strengths. And I'm looking forward to continuing to help you reach your career goals. All right. Now, for our industry partners, if you do want to be our industry partners, we have various ways that you can partner up with us. You could be our training partner, where we offer opportunities to upskill your team in real-time 3D technologies. You can also ensure that your team stays ahead of the curve and is equipped with the latest skills needed to thrive in today's fast-paced digital landscape. You could also be a hiring partner, where you'll be able to gain access to a vast community of skilled and certified creators. And the best part is that it's all completely free of charge. You could also be an internship and an apprenticeship partner, where you could offer and tap into skills and passion of our grads by becoming an internship and apprenticeship partner. Our network offers real-world opportunities for aspiring professionals to gain hands-on experience within your organization. We are also on the lookout for capstone project advisors, where you will have the opportunity to advise our learners on real-world projects that align with your organization's goals and needs. And also, you could join our business network, where you'll be able to gain access to our exclusive networking events, where you'll be able to connect with like-minded organizations and other industry leaders. You'll also be able to forge partnerships, share insights, as well as discover new opportunities that can advance your initiatives and propel your business forward. And with that, we have come to the end of our event. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today.